Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber, and this guy pretty much, he shares his story. It's very brief, where basically he moved in with his girlfriend, and in the beginning everything was cool like it usually is, and after a while that's when she started to use her leverage of being his roommate and her obviously contributing to the bills to start pulling bullshit with him. Basically trying to get him to agree to something that he probably initially didn't want to agree to. And he eventually gives in and gives it her way. And that then gives her more leverage to try more bullshit. And eventually she gives him an ultimatum that if he doesn't commit to marrying her within a year, that she's out of there. And the guy was strong enough and smart enough to say basically like, see ya, and kicked her ass to the curb. Okay? And that's really good. But his questions are basically, were there things he could have done to prevented all this shit? What could he have done in advance that this wouldn't have happened at all? And he also wants to know, is there things he could do, to make sure that in the future it doesn't happen again? And also, are there things that can be done to prevent women from trying to take control in a relationship? And I'm sure, just as I say that, there are guys all around the world listening and laughing at that prospect of trying to prevent women to try to take control in a relationship, because they're all going to try to take control, but it's how you show up as a man and the way you draw a line in the sand that will prevent them from doing so. So I'm going to go over his email here. It's not very long, and when I'm done here, I'll then point out the things that he did wrong which led to all this shit, and then eventually answer the other questions to help him out. And that way, for this guy and anybody else that's in a situation like this, you know what to do. So it starts off saying, he says, "Hey bud, I'm new to your channel, but I really enjoy the advice you've given me. Some I already knew through life experience, and some you really filled me in on. Anyway, I've been living with this girl for 2 years. Things were pretty good up until about 6 months or so ago. At first, she started questioning how I spent my own money, seeing how I refused to share any type of bank account or bills with her. I'm a strong believer in yours is yours and mine is mine. You're damn right your money and your bank account and all that stuff is yours. That's your private information. And her bank and her money, that's her private information. You need to share that with her. And good for you for standing up for yourself in that area and not letting her have it. And by the way, this thing about a joint account, you got to be out of your damn mind to open a joint account with a girlfriend, guys. Don't ever do that because they'll rob you blind, okay? I've heard stories about this, okay? And the same thing goes with a joint credit card or anything like that. Now, there's one situation when you can obviously do it. That is if you decide one day that you're going to get married. I've warned you guys more times than I can count about that, but if you do it anyway, if you're going to do a joint account, that's only if you get married for the joint expenses, like the electric bill, the water bill, the mortgage or rent, whatever. You have one account for that you guys contribute to pay the things you equally use. But then you have your bank account, the husband has his bank account, and the wife has her bank account, and her investment accounts, and credit cards in her name, and you have credit cards in your name. That's all separate. Mixing it up other than that, aside from the essential expenses, bad idea. But never do that if you're just boyfriend, girlfriend. No fucking way. You're out of your mind for doing that. Gotta make that clear because sometimes people don't get that. Okay, goes on. Then other things started happening with her saying, I made more money than her, so I should pay more bills. I agreed to this, and that seemed to make her happy. Big mistake, bro. It was like in small amounts, and she was trying to take over everything. That's what they do. In small little ways that you don't notice until, guess what? They've taken over everything. Finally, she said, either I marry her next year or we are done. I saved her the trouble and said, see ya. I have no problem being the asshole. Well, bro, good for you for doing that. And you weren't the asshole because simply she was giving you an ultimatum. And in life, guys, anytime anybody gives you an ultimatum, you do not cave to that ultimatum, because if you go along with it, they own your ass, okay? If he went along with that, believe me, he'd have the marriage from hell. Guaranteed. It wouldn't get better. It'd be the marriage from hell, because she knows that she can get this guy to do anything. So really good for this guy. Bravo. He says, anyway, my question for you is there any way to keep this from happening? How could I have headed this off before it started? How do you keep them from trying to take control? Maybe your advice will help me in my next relationship. Keep up the good work, man. Okay, so first off, I'm sure you're all familiar with the saying, give an inch and they'll take a mile. It's absolutely true in this situation. Now, the first mistake the guy made, which led down this path, was moving in with her. Now, I'm not, the guy shouldn't beat himself up over this. And for you guys that have done this before, or you guys are living with a girlfriend and aren't too happy about it, and you're young and you're inexperienced, again, don't beat yourself up over this, because this is a mistake a lot of young guys do because they don't know any better. They don't have somebody older to advise them not to do it, especially in this day and age. Again, things are different now compared to what they were 20 years ago, okay? I've lived with women, okay? And I didn't have anybody advise me not to do it, but I want to point out that it wasn't like it is today 20 years ago, okay? Things have definitely changed, okay? They've gotten worse. And this is why channels like mine are so appealing to guys, because they can relate to all this bullshit that goes on. So the first mistake the guy did was moving in with her, okay? I've warned you guys about that, and there are plenty of reasons why, because let me just say this here. Let's just say, for argument's sake, prior to this guy and his girlfriend moving in together, let's just say for argument's sake that they had a really good thing going, obviously, or they wouldn't have moved in together. And let's just say that prior to moving in together and signing the lease, she really saw him as a catch, as a prize, which meant that in her eyes, he was probably like a 9 or a 10. So that meant that when she was around him, she was always on her best behavior. She always probably treated him really well. She was probably a lot of fun and girly and feminine, and shit like he was describing in this email probably didn't happen, okay? And obviously, because she was trying to sell herself, as a lot of women will do with a guy they really like and want to make their own. Okay, and let's just say all the other things are good because, like, let's just say she's taking care of herself, keeping herself in shape, thin, dressing well, dressing sexy, and plenty of sex, all the good stuff. So the guy thinks, hey, this would be great to move in together because now I can get sex all the time. It'll be wonderful, magical. And guess what happens? The guy moves in with the girl, and in the beginning everything's cool, and that's when the things begin to change. That's when the woman realizes for the first time, if the guy really is a catch and other women like him, she now has leverage, okay? Because you see, her name is now on the lease, or at the very least, she moved in with the guy and his name's on the lease, and so he's counting on her to take care of part of the expenses, the rent or the mortgage, electric bill, cable bill, internet, all the stuff, okay? So if she's not happy, guess what? She can bail, and he has to deal with it. Sure, if her name is on some of the things, it could kill her credit if she just picks up and leaves, but a lot of people don't think these things through. But the bottom line is, she's got leverage, okay? And her behavior is going to change after a while. That's one of the things. Number two, by the way, guys, I've done a whole video about this, and I'm going to post a link to that video in case you didn't see about why you never move in with your girlfriend. But that's one of the reasons, and that video goes really in depth about these things. The other thing is that she's going to start questioning everything you do, like her questioning about this guy's money and what he spends his money on. It's none of her business, but she feels it's her place to ask. Why? Because he moved in with her. He took that big step, and now she's got leverage over him. And she's already thinking, this could be maybe the guy that I'm going to marry, so I want to find out where his money goes, right? You gave her that idea by moving in with her. Because a lot of women do want to get married. And so, believe me, they're paying attention to this shit with the guy that can move in. So she wants to know how you spend your money. Believe me, you moved out of your parents' house so you wouldn't have somebody asking you questions like this, that you could live your own life. Now you're back with a woman who thinks that she can be like your mom and tell you what to spend your money on, right? That doesn't sound like a lot of fun, does it? Well, that's the shit that happens. Or about women that they're going to be asking you, where are you going? Who are you hanging out with? When are you coming home? That's not a lot of fun. And there's plenty of other pain in the ass things that happen. You can watch the other video because I can't remember it this second. But that's the first big mistake the guy made, moving in with her. Because again, I gave her the leverage. The next big mistake was when she asked him, or more like probably demanded that the guy, because he makes more money, that he pays more of the bills. Bullshit. You moved in together, make it 50-50, okay? Like, it'd be one thing if she lost her job and very temporarily you were helping a little bit, but to be honest, she ought to have a good savings account to help pay her part of the bills. But just because you're working and she's working and because you make more, you should pay more? Okay, you're not married and you shouldn't be anyway. So, but the guy went along with this to make her happy. And he said it made her happy initially, sure, because she got her way. But now she learned, hey, I now can get more out of this guy. I got him to move in with me. I'm now grilling him about his life and what he spends money on. And I got him to cave to pay more of the bills because he makes more money. Gee, what else can I get out of this guy? Again, the saying, give an inch and they'll take a mile. Right? So those were the mistakes leading up to it. And I'm sure there was other shit, but then that gave her the strength to realize, hey, I can now pull the ultimatum of, hey, you better marry me in a year or I'm out of here. Okay? And obviously it was her playing poker, but the guy was smart enough and strong enough to say, get out, and good for that guy, awesome. But, so those were the things that led to it. So what do you do to prevent this? So if you wouldn't have done that, if you wouldn't have moved in with her, and obviously when she moved in, given her that leverage to then agreed to pay more of the bills because you make more money, probably this wouldn't have happened. Okay? Definitely if you didn't move in with her, you could probably be still with her today. But the thing is if obviously marriage is important to her, at some point it may have come up, but I don't think things have gone this direction. So in the future, your date, because this guy obviously does dating and relationships, don't move in with a woman. Okay, I've warned you about this. There's plenty of other things that can go wrong that I mentioned in the other videos. I'm not going to focus on all that today. I'll post a link. Don't move in with them, okay? It's a recipe for disaster. And this guy watching, you saw what happened, okay? Don't do that. This is why I encourage you guys to be on your purpose and work hard for your goals and better yourselves in all areas of your life, particularly also with your job and your career so you can make more money. And that way you can live by yourself and you won't, in order to have a nice life, have to rely on moving in with your girlfriend in order to split the bills and enjoy other things that you want. You'll make enough money on your own that you got your own place, you can take all your expenses, and you're not reliant on her or anybody for that shit. Because you see what this leads to, okay? So for the guy who wrote me this, don't move in with your girlfriend. If you don't make enough money right now, if you need to make more money, you need to save money, at least move in with one of your buddies, a reliable guy, okay? And then improve yourself to get a better job, get more skills, something to make more money so then you can be by yourself in case the reason you moved in with her was to split the bills, okay? I don't know if that's the case, but just in case. And for anybody in that situation, now you know what to do. Don't move in with her. Don't move in with your girlfriend. Be on your own. Date other women. Have a good time. If this guy likes doing exclusive relationships with one girlfriend, fine. That's his life. Just don't move in with him. Next thing, to prevent any kind of bullshit like this, them trying to take over your life, is you always need to come off as strong. Come off as masculine, okay? When guys tend to be very silly and goofy with their girlfriends, they see that the same way little kids see adults. When dealing with little kids, and you guys that have kids or been around kids know, kids, they'll always test. Women always test guys on their strength, as little kids will always test adults on what they can get away with. But notice that the people that the little kids test more are the adults that tend to try to be their buddy and goof around and are silly and all that shit. The kids realize, hey, I can get away with more crap, and that's what they do. Meanwhile, the adults or the teachers or the guardians or whatever, babysitters, the ones that are no nonsense and don't tolerate any shit, and they nip it in the bud right away, those kids they'll try to test, but they realize they can't get anywhere, and they stop dead in their tracks, okay? That's how you got to be with women. I'm not saying you got to walk around with a stick up your ass and be uptight and no fun, no personality, but you maintain a frame. You're not a goofy comedian type, and you can say funny stuff, but not acting like you're trying to be funny, and you're smooth and cool. And if they try to testing things, you nip it in the bud, because women always test. A lot of guys don't get that, okay? That will prevent a lot of them trying to take over your life. But understand this, guys. Women are conditioned, thanks to television and movies, where you think about any sitcom, it shows the woman running the house, telling the guy what to do, asking him where he's going, asking what he spends his money on, okay? They've been brainwashed to do this. And thanks to movements like feminism, for the woman to be empowered and take control, that doesn't help either. You don't let them at all. Okay? And let's see here, one more question he had. And the last thing is, bro, I want to say this because this guy obviously does relationships, and for anybody else in this situation, be prepared to lose women over this mindset and how you're going to live your life. If you're going to live alone and refuse to live with any other women, okay, and that's good because you're going to save yourself a whole lot of headaches and problems, and that will keep the relationship in your favor because you're not going to give her any leverage. Be prepared that you're going to lose women because a lot of women do want to settle down and get married. So eventually, even though she's really into you, if she can't move things along in the direction of maybe getting married or something like that, something more serious, she may bail, and that happens, okay, even if you do everything right. So you got to make a point where you're indifferent to that, okay? And that may sound kind of mean, it may sound kind of cold, but in a way you kind of have to be that way, all right? And the thing is this, is when you're indifferent about things, whether you could take them or leave them, that you're just as happy hanging out with them and having a good time, and you're equally content if you never see them again. A, you're never going to get hurt, and B, you're never going to be taken advantage of. But understand this, that eventually some women aren't going to want to wait around forever and they're going to be gone. But if you don't care, if you can be again, this is for this guy and anybody else that likes to do relationships, you can be a serial monogamist, if you will. You have a girlfriend for a while, it runs its course, she wants to move on to somebody that'll marry her or whatever. Okay, she's out of there, on to the next one, and preferably a younger, hotter one. So, but anyway, guys, that is the best way to handle this situation. The guy shouldn't have moved in with her. He shouldn't have explained himself. He kept it quiet about what he spent his money on, but obviously she was drilling him about it. He shouldn't have agreed to spend more of his money on the bills because she made less. That was a big mistake because each of these things gave her more, realizing she's got more leverage and can get him to do more shit. And finally, she pulled the marriage ultimatum. I seriously doubt that if he had moved in with her, or at least started agreeing to these other things, that she would have done that. Okay, that's my opinion on that. That's just how it works, because these things build up, and it's gradual. You know, they'll try to slowly take over your life. It's like that thing about the frog in the boiling water. If you throw a frog in a boiling water, the frog's going to jump out. But if the frog is in warm water and you slowly turn it up, the frog doesn't realize it's getting super hot. And next thing you know, it boils the frog and he dies. That's generally how these things work. You know, they slowly try to take over and stuff like that. And you got to be aware of that. Be aware of the testing and how they do that. So, or just save yourself a whole lot of trouble. Don't move in with them, just like I said. All right, guys, I think I covered that. I know I said a lot here, but I want to make that clear. So for this guy here, good job kicking her out, moving on. Good for you. Don't move in with any more women, and I wish you the best. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this, and be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.